So today I'm going to start a new topic, Hilbert functions. But before that, I want to, from my past experience from last 4 lectures, I have decided that I will brief to the earlier chapters of ATIA McDonald, whatever I am going to use in this lecture or lectures later. So I have collected definitions and results without proof. And they are all contained in ATIA McDonald chapters up to 6. Most of them many of them might be exercises, but that's it. So I am not going to prove this, but on the other hand, I will encourage you to make yourself comfortable with these results. In case if you need help, we are there to help you. But we should know what help do you need. That is very important. All right. So in the supplement also, I don't remember which number now, I have written a couple of problems about support of a module. So recall that if we have a ring is always commutative ring for us, and M is a module, then support of a module is, this is a notation sub M. When the ring is not under confusion, it's fixed and not confused, then we will drop that in the notation. Otherwise, we'll keep it. These are all those primordials such that M localized at P is non-zero. So if you have a minimal prime in the support, minimal means what? That means it is minimal in that set with respect to the inclusion. This is a set and this inclusion is order there, so minimal in that sense. Then we say that P is minimal prime of M. Like you say minimal prime of an ideal. So this lemma says that if M is a finite module, then the support is a closed set in the spectrum. And what is that ideal? It is V of the annihilator of M. And therefore, if P is minimal in the support, that will be minimal prime ideal of over this ideal annihilator of M. Now, this might be new to some people, but it is, I found this is very convenient, so I thought I will write it. So nil M, normally we define nilpotent elements in a ring. So now this is nil M means all those elements in the ring A, so that this multiplication map becomes a nilpotent operator. That means some power of A must annihilate M. Then we call it nil of this. All right. Before I go on, I must now say that, see, we have not closed our study of finite type algebras. All that we have established in 4 lectures is, if you have a finite type algebra, then we know what is the Krull dimension, and it is finite in particular. That's what we know. Now I am going to go on to the local rings soon and show that local ring also has a finite Krull dimension. And I am preparing a machinery for that. All right, so I have to go quickly. If M is 0, then support is empty, and that is also equivalent to saying that support of M intersected with the maximal spectrum is empty. This is essentially, I saw in lectures of Vidyanand, this is essentially the local principle. If locally somebody is 0, then it is 0 on the open set. That's what this means. So I have not written the proof. Okay, now the next topic, we will assume that what is associated primes. So associated primes are the module. So if P is a prime ideal, then we say that it is associated prime of M if there exists a non-zero element in X such that the annihilator of that element is precisely P. Or equivalently, annihilator is P is equivalent to saying that this A mod P goes inside M as a module over A. So that means there exists an injective A modulo homomorphism from A by P to M. This is simply just they take A 1 going to X, 1 going to X will give you a linear map from A to M, and that will precisely have kernel P. So now the set of associated primes of M is denoted by A+S associated primes of M. And again, we can drop this notation A from that if A is our fixed rate. And here, this is again, this red thing I have written, it's very important because it becomes clearer what we are talking. This is also a little bit abuse of notation or language. So when we say set of associated primes of an ideal A, that means we mean associated primes of the module A by A and not those of A as the A module. However, when you say associated primes of A, then we do mean that it is those of associated prime of A as the A module. So actually in the earlier sentence, we should really say then associated primes of the ideal 0, but that is not how the language is used in the books. So I thought I should mention this. So if P is the prime ideal and X is a non-zero element in A by P, that means X is not in P if we lift it. Then the annihilator of X is precisely P and associated primes of A by P just singleton P. All these things what I wrote, they are very easy to check. Actually, the best should be you take these notes and you try to fill up the proof on your own by using the definitions. If you get stuck, then look at the book. That is the best actually. And then you can get converted into our notation, whatever, even if you read in the book. All right. The next lemma is, if you have a module and P the maximal element with respect to the inclusion in the annihilators of the non-zero elements of M, then P is the prime and P belong to the associated primes of M. Immediate consequence of this would be if M is Noetherian, if A is either A is Noetherian or M is Noetherian, then M is 0 if and only if associated primes, there is no associated prime. That's an empty set. So, moreover, the zero divisors of the module M is the union of the associated primes. This was also one of the assignment, if you remember, in zero assignment 0, the first one. So, zero divisors means those elements of the ring A. You have to look at the left multiplication by that element that should be not injective. So that means it should kill the non-zero element of M. That's a zero divisor. The next, this is an important theorem now. This we will use very often. If A is a ring, M is a module. And I have tried to write all these sentences because every statement we should know what are the exact assumptions. So, first one is associated primes of M is contained in the union of VP. VP is our notation. All those, these are the closed sets in the spectrum of A. All those prime ideals which contain this P. And take their union over all the associated primes. Then this one is contained in this union. And this union is contained in the support. And support is contained in the V of the annihilator. This is because I am not assuming M is finitely generated here, arbitrary. Obviously, this becomes equality here if M is finitely generated. That's what we noted earlier. Second part, if A is Noetherian or M is Noetherian. See here, why do I write like this? Which is a stronger assumption in this? A is Noetherian is more stronger assumption. If M is Noetherian, then you would have seen that A may not be Noetherian, but A mod annihilator is Noetherian. So, but in either case, if P is the element in the support, then you can find Q in the associated prime where Q is contained in P. And moreover, if you look at the support and associated primes, their minimal elements are same. So they have the same minimal elements. This will follow from these two. So this is very important statement. We keep using it again and again. Associated primes and support have the same minimal primes. All right. Again, this corollary. This corollary is analogous to the fact that nil radical is equal to intersection of the minimal primes. So if M is a Noetherian module, then nil M is intersection of all those P's where P's are associated to M. And this one is also very, the next proposition is also very important, that if A is a ring and M finite non-zero Noetherian A module, then there exists a finite chain of modules like this, such that the successive quotients, they are A mod PIs, where PIs are prime ideals, and this is true at every stage. Moreover, the associated primes of the module M is contained in this finite set, P1 to Pn, and which is contained in the support. So in particular, these associated primes of a module is a finite set. That is under the assumption it is non-zero, and yeah, and the module is Noetherian. You don't need A to be Noetherian. All right. Now, the next concept is length. This is, I think, chapter 6 in Natya notebook. So, I forgot to ask how many of you have exposition to this. If it is boring for you, I will directly switch on to the next few pages. Can I do that? Hello? I need some answer.
So please recall.
Sorry?
You can recall notation.
I am not getting it. Acoustic is not so good.
Sir, he is requesting to recall.
Recall?
Yes.
Only one? What about the others? See, if everybody else says that, I will go on.
Sir, it will be better if you just explain these things once.
Okay. All right. Now the next concept is of length of module. And as you see, this is a generalization of the concept of a dimension of a vector space. This is analog. No, similar. So M is, first of all, recall M is called simple module if it is non-zero, and the only proper submodule is the zero submodule. So there is no submodule other than zero and the whole. So such modules are called simple. And it's very easy to say that, for example, if you take a ring and a maximal ideal, then A by M is a simple module. Simple as a module. And conversely, any simple module will be isomorphic to A by M for some maximal ideal. That is very easy to see. Again, because you take any element of X in M and define a map from A to M by 1 going to X, and this will have kernel, the maximal ideal, and therefore, and surjective because it is simple. Therefore, this is a simple module corresponds to the maximal ideals. Now, a chain of submodules like this, which contains, this chain has length M. This is called a composition series. If each successive quotient, Mi by Mi, Mi minus 1 by Mi, these are simple modules. Then you call such a module, such a chain to be composition series of M. M may have a composition series or may not have. That's a different matter. But if such a chain is there in M, which says that the successive quotients are simple, then we call it a composition series. Now we will see soon when such a composition series exists for a module. And what is the length of M then? You take all composition series and take their length and take the infimum. That is called the length of a module. This is a definition. If M has no composition series, then we put length of M to be infinity. Further, when is the length 0? Length is 0. That means the composition series, there will be composition series with only one term, M0, and that should be 0. So M is 0. Length is 0 if and only if the module is 0. If M has a finite length, then M is finitely generated. Just prove it by induction on the length. Because it has a finite length, the length is finite. So we call it M, and then there is a composition series like that, and then you induct on this M. So that's very easy, but you should write down the proof.
Sir?
Yes.
Sir, is there any analog of this length in the geometry part? Means in the coordinate ring length of that module, what it represents in the geometrically?
Is there a geometric interpretation for the dimension?
Yeah.
Dimension of a vector space.
Yeah.
If there is, then the same. No, I said this is a generalization of the dimension.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, because your question was not very, I don't know the word, your question was not very right. It was not fitting right here. That is why I answered like that. So, the next theorem is very important theorem, Jordan-Holder. That is, if you have a module over a ring A, and suppose it has a composition series, then any chain of submodules can be refined to a composition series. And every composition series is of length Lm. In particular, support of M equal to V of the annihilator of M, which is contained in the maximal spectrum. And there is a canonical isomorphism from M to this product. Product is running over maximal ideals in the support and M localized at M. Now, there are so many statements I have stated that I have just collected them because I want to use them later. And I will make this as a dictionary. You go learn it. If you don't know the proofs, please revise your proofs, ask somebody, discuss. This is very important theorem of Jordan-Holder. So, some important corollaries. If A is a ring, M is a Noetherian module, then the following are equivalent. M has a finite length. The second one is support is contained in the maximal spectrum. Third is associated primes are contained in the maximal spectrum. So how do you test whether the given module has a finite length or not? You have to test these things. They are much easier rather than finding out whether it has a composition series and what are the lengths and so on. These 2 and 3 are much easier to check. So moreover, if these conditions hold, then actually the associated primes and support are equal. Okay. The next corollary is a module M is both Artinian and Noetherian if and only if M is of finite length. So Artinian means module has DCC and Noetherian means module has ACC. All right, this is also chapter 7, I think. So that is how we test the module has finite length or the module has finite length or not. So let us see some simple examples. Without examples, one cannot learn theorems. So any simple Z module is finite. Why is that? Why is that any simple Z module? Why is it finite? Because simple means it corresponds to the maximal ideal. That means it should be isomorphic to A by M, where M is the maximal ideal. Our ring is Z. So the maximal ideals are generated by the prime numbers and the quotient module is then Z mod P. Z mod P is finite. That is what it is. So earlier knowledge about prime ideals, maximal ideals will definitely be useful. In fact, it is essential. So Z module has a finite length if and only if it has to be finite. In particular, length of Z cannot be finite. It is infinite. No wonder Z is Noetherian but not Artinian. That also explains this corollary. All right, let P be a prime number and M. Now I am trying to give an example of a Artinian module which is not Noetherian. So look at this module. What is the module M? It is the quotient module. This is the module. This is a submodule of Q, Z submodule of Q generated by Z and 1 by P, where P is a fixed prime number. And this definitely contains the submodule Z. Therefore, the quotient makes sense. So this quotient module is Artinian Z module, but not Noetherian. And therefore, this module also will have the length infinite. We should check that why this module is Artinian and why it is not Noetherian. Both these things we have to check, take them as exercises. This one is additivity of the length theorem. So length gets added. What does that mean? That means if you have a submodule of a module, then the length of M equal to length of M prime plus length of M by M prime. So this equality now, if one side is infinite, the other side also should be infinite. And one side is finite, the other side also should be finite, and the equality should also. Okay. This theorem also we have mentioned earlier, some either exercises or somewhere in our lectures. So this theorem was proved by Akizuki and Hopkins. So a ring A is Artinian if and only if it is Noetherian and dimension is 0. Moreover, in this case, the spectrum is finite set. And therefore, it will be a discrete topological space with Zariski topology. So immediate corollary to this is, if you have an Artinian ring and M is a finite module over an Artinian ring, then it has a finite length, and in that and associated primes of M and associated primes of support of M, they are finite. These are finite sets. All right. Now, two more corollaries. A is Artinian if and only if length is finite. When do you say ring is Artinian? That means A as a module over A, it should be Artinian module. That is equivalent to saying that the length of this A as a module is finite. And next corollary is A is Artinian if and only if A is a finite product of Artinian local rings. And moreover, in this case, A is isomorphic to the product of localizations at P, where P runs over all spectrum. This is also finite product because spectrum itself is finite, we have noted. This has a very big geometric meaning, which I will use it when I have a chance. All right. So far, any question? Hello? Please ask question if you have doubt. Nobody? I hope they are not sleeping. The 38 participants. Nobody has any question? All right. Now, the next one I am going to start is graded rings and modules. Again, how many of you have exposure to this? All right. So let me do it. Here also I have not written all the proofs, but I have written many comments. Anybody want to, Diksha, you want to ask something?
No, sir. I have done this. Just I want to say that
Sorry, I am not getting you.
Sir, I am saying that I have done this.
You have done this. Okay, fine, very good. So you will have a nice revision. So A is a graded ring. When you say graded means n graded. It's graded by the monoid n. So there are additive subgroups such that this A is the direct sum of these subgroups, and also this extra inclusion. If you take AM times N is contained in AM plus N for all Mn in the natural numbers, then this sequence is called a gradation of it. Obviously, A naught is a subring, and when we say the subring, that means one of A naught should be one of A, and ANs, all these subgroups, additive subgroups, are actually A naught modules for every N. For example, if A naught is a ring, then the polynomial ring in M variables over A naught is a graded with this gradation. This is a standard gradation. That is, if you take the monomials of the same degree and you take the A naught submodule generated by that, that is the AN. A naught module generated by that. Or more generally also, this will be very useful. If you have this, we have seen already in that, we were doing this in that normalization lemma. If you have a tuple, then you can define a gradation. There we did different, but it was connected somehow. Then on the polynomial ring, I will define a degree of a monomial. This is gamma degree. That is, you take, instead of taking the sums of nu i's, you take gamma I nu I. Then you get a gradation on the same polynomial ring. But the ANs will be different in this and that case. If gamma is all 1, 1, 1, then the standard gradation, then you get a standard gradation, or I will call it usual gradation. If gamma is all 0, then the gamma gradation is a trivial gradation. Trivial gradation means there are no ANs other than 0. All right, so these are, we should take more definitions sometime, or I write them in exercises. Now, this is very boring. I have written many definitions. So A is a graded ring with gradation. ANs are called homogeneous component of degree n. Its elements are called homogeneous elements of degree n. Non-zero elements are called homogeneous of degree n. Zero element have every degree. So ring homomorphism from in between two graded rings is called a graded homomorphism if phi of n goes inside Bn for every n. Then you call it a graded homomorphism. Remember, A naught has to go to B naught because 1 has to go to 1. Our ring homomorphism demands that. Next one, now a graded module. Now, graded module may have gradation numbered by Z integers. It may have the negative components also. So Mn is a sequence of subgroups such that M is a direct sum of these subgroups, and M times Mn should be contained in M times Mn, M plus N for all M and N. Obviously, Mn is a A naught module for every N, and the module with a Z gradation is called a Z graded module denoted by this. And the graded ring is always a Z graded module. Sometimes also it is convenient to make these graded ring also Z graded by putting the negative components to be 0. So then you don't have to write this in the notation. Then when you say graded means you don't have to write this. N is in Z and so on. So this is a standard way of writing, you will see. But in the beginning I tried to write, but maybe still my hand might have slipped somewhere. Just check carefully. If you have a graded module or a graded ring, then the non-zero elements of Mn are called homogeneous elements of degree n. Mn is called homogeneous component of degree n. A zero element is homogeneous of every degree. All right. So now submodules or module homomorphisms. Graded module homomorphism means now it might happen that nth homogeneous component might go to different homogeneous component. That means you call it a graded homomorphism, graded or homogeneous of degree R if homogeneous component of degree n goes to homogeneous component of degree n plus R, and that happens for every n. So graded, the subgroups go to those subgroups, but it may happen that they go to the fixed shift of the homogeneous component. If R is 0, then you call it a homomorphism of graded modules. So by definition, homomorphism of graded modules means that it maps homogeneous component of degree n to homogeneous component of degree n. Otherwise, you will have to keep writing degree R, and so on. All right. Now definition. Now, if you have a graded module or a graded ring and a submodule, then we will say that it is also graded or homogeneous submodule. If any one of the equivalent condition is satisfied. What are the equivalent conditions? There are 4 of them. N is the sum of Mn intersection n. Second one is N is the direct sum of this. You see the difference between 1 and 2? This is a direct sum and this is the sum. Third one is if X is in N, then every homogeneous component also of X also belongs to N. And fourth, N is generated by homogeneous elements of N. These 4 conditions are equivalent, and if that's satisfied by this module N, then you call this module N to be homogeneous submodule. In particular, here is 3 and 4 are important handy conditions to use. So graded ideal, that means it's a submodule of homogeneous ideal. Or it's a graded submodule or homogeneous submodule of the module A. That's called a homogeneous or graded ideal. So if you have a graded submodule of the graded module, then the natural inclusion map is also graded homomorphism of degree 0. And if you take this gradation on the residue or the quotient module, this is a quotient module M by N, and this one will give you a gradation on the quotient module. That is called the quotient gradation, coming from that given gradation of M. So with this, the canonical surjective homomorphism is a graded homomorphism of degree 0. So that is only when you take M is of graded, N is homogeneous, then these things are also very easy to check. This example, if you have a graded module homomorphism of degree R, then you look at the kernel F, image F, they are graded submodules of M prime, and this is of M. And with on co-kernel F, we'll have a quotient gradation from M. Then these sequences at every N, kernel suffix N, M prime suffix N, and image suffix N plus R. This will map, Fn is mapping these two homogeneous component of degree N plus R because it's the original homomorphism of degree R. Similarly for image N, this goes inside this and this goes inside the co-kernel, and then kernel N, M prime N, this is M N plus R, and this is co-kernel N plus R, this is to 0. These are the exact sequences of A0 modules. That is very simple to check. You should check. Don't believe. You have to check every detail one says. All right. Next example, if you have an ideal, homogeneous ideal in a graded ring, then the quotient ring is also graded ring with the quotient gradation, and the canonical surjective map. This is a homomorphism of graded rings. More generally, if you have a homomorphism of graded rings, then the kernel is homogeneous ideal, and image F is a graded subring, and then the isomorphism induced by phi is a isomorphism of graded rings. This is what you have to use earlier example to check this. All right, now two more important propositions. I have not written the proofs completely, but I have indicated the proofs, which is essentially complete, but you have to complete it. You have this graded ring given, and A plus is this sum of all these other than 0. Remove A0 from there, then sum of all this. Note that this is a homogeneous ideal linear. And the quotient ring, this is canonical isomorphic to A0. That's very easy to check. Proposition says if you have a module, graded module over a graded ring, if that module is Noetherian, then each Mn is finitely generated A0 module. Right? Let us see the proof. So I want to prove that each Mn is a finitely generated A0 module. So look here, what I said. Start with n in n. I should have written this line first. So let me read the last line first. So start with n in integers. I want to show this Mn is finitely generated A0 module. So I want to cook up a finite set of generating system for Mn as a A0 module. So take that n, and now you look at this submodule. Look at the sum of MMs where M is at least 10. And I have called it this n power, this round bracket n. One should improve notation better, I think, but I was in a hurry to write this, so I wrote it. So this is my n power n. Or if you want n to be fixed here, we have fixed it, then you don't write this in the notation. That may be better, I think. Let us fix this n. I want to show that this Mn has a finite system of generators as a A0 module. So take that n to be sum of MMs where M is at least 10. Then this is clearly graded because it's graded. You see it is graded. That is obvious. Therefore, it is a finite A module because it's a submodule of a Noetherian module. And therefore, it is a finite A module since M is Noetherian. And M is also homogeneous because it's a graded submodule. Therefore, this says that it has a finite generating system, but it is homogeneous. So I will take that finite generating system and put on all the homogeneous components of all that generators. So I still get a finite system. So that, and n will be still generated by that as a module. So n is generated by that homogeneous finite set of homogeneous elements. And now take that finite set of homogeneous elements and intersect with this Mn. See, Mn is one of them here. So take that finite set of homogeneous generators and take among them the one which are homogeneous of degree n. And that will generate Mn as a A0 module. This is very easy to check. So I still had lines here to check, but I thought I will leave it. Corollary is very important. If you have a graded ring, then consider the following conditions. The ring is Noetherian. The second one is A0 is Noetherian. And each An is a finitely generated A0 module. Third one is A0 Noetherian. And A1, the first homogeneous component, is finitely generated A0 module. Then what do we have? I'm not saying they are equivalent. I'm saying that 1 implies 2 implies 3. 1 implies 2 implies 3. Let us read more over part after these books. So 1 implies 2 is immediate from the earlier proposition. If A is Noetherian, then all, see the proposition says if some module is Noetherian, then all components are finitely generated A0 modules. So these are all finitely generated modules. And A0 is Noetherian because it's a quotient ring, if you want. So therefore, it's immediate from the earlier proposition. And because this A0, you can think it is a quotient ring of A by this ideal A plus. That's what I wrote this comment here. So 1 implies 2 is trivial. 2 implies 3. A0 Noetherian as it is. Here here AN is finitely generated, here A1 is. So it's even easy. So this is trivial. Now 3 implies 1. When is 3 implies 1 true? So moreover, if M is a standard graded ring, that is A is generated by A1 as a A0 algebra, then 3 implies 1. So that means what? That means A, okay, so by 3, A is a A0 algebra of finite type because this A1 is finitely generated, A0 module. So I take the generators of A0 and generate A0 over that generator, that is precisely the ring A, that is given, our assumption is given by that is standard graded. So therefore, by Hilbert-Bessey's theorem, A is nothing. So, can I go on? Anybody has question? Yes? Boring? Sleeping? All right. So, the one more proposition. So, if you have a graded module over a graded ring, and if it is finitely generated module, then what are the conditions? Then Mn should be 0 for large negative n. It cannot, all the components may not be, should not be 0 of n on the left side. If A is a graded A0 algebra of finite type, then each Mn is a finite A0 module. Third one, if A is A0, then Mn is 0 for almost all n. That means this sum is really a direct finite sum, finite direct sum. All right, proof. Proof is again very easy. We have given M is finitely generated A module and M is graded. So again, this means M is generated by a finite set of finite generating set. Each element in that generating set will have finitely many elements. Therefore, I will put on all those homogeneous components. Then M will be generated by that. That is obvious. The generating set size has increased, but something good has happened. That means all elements are homogeneous there. So it is we can assume M is finitely generated by a finite set of homogeneous elements. And now put M equal to, look at all these homogeneous elements. They are homogeneous elements of M. Look at their degrees. They are homogeneous, so degree makes sense. So their degrees, di's are degrees, and take the minimum of them. Then you try to show that Mn's are 0 for n less than equal to M minus 1. So remember, these homogeneous elements may have negative degrees because homogeneous component of an element may have negative components. So this is very easy to show again. So second one, so that proves one. For large negative, Mn's are 0. Second one, if M is second one, A is Noetherian because it's a finite type algebra over a Noetherian ring. Did I not say Noetherian somewhere? I have to write A is Noetherian. A is Noetherian by Hilbert-Bessey's theorem. In this, I have to write A0 is Noetherian. Therefore, by proposition, earlier proposition, Mn is a finite module, finite A0 module for every n. So that is what we wanted to prove. Then each Mn is a finite A0 module. And third one, if A is A0, then Mn is 0 for almost all. Now again the same thing, same trick you do it, take the homogeneous set of generators, and here you have taken the minimum. Now you take the maximum and take n bigger than that maximum, then all are 0. Same proof, similar. So now I am finished with the preliminaries. Now let's, time is, I still have time, no? A lot of time. So anybody wants to ask question? Yes. I'm waiting.
So the last statement, what do you mean by for almost all, like for negative side, for negative degree it may not be 0.
What is it?
Like for the last third statement,
Who is talking?
Java Singh.
Java Singh. Where are you from?
I'm from ISET Kolkata.
Sir, Kolkata. Okay. Tell me, what is your question?
So third thing is you're saying that Mn is 0 for almost all n, right? So in the
Yes.
negative degree, it need not be 0.
I didn't understand your last sentence.
For the negative degree components, it need not be 0.
Almost all means all but finitely many. That means only finitely many components, somewhere they will be non-zero.
Okay.
For large negative, they are 0. Large positive also, they are 0. So only in between, there are only finitely many, no?
Yeah, fine.
That's what I meant. Anything else?
That's all.
Okay, so shall I go on now? Now the next topic is very important. And therefore, I will be much slower than this. But obviously, I would have used many of these results there.
So one clarification over here. The
Yes.
assumption that is missing is that A0 is required to be notated.
Yes, yes. In this proposition, A0 is Noetherian.
Okay, I'll make that correct.
Please remember that and correct it. For me, that is always a blanket assumption because I don't worry about non-Noetherian rings. All right. So shall I go on? Kriti, shall I go on? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now Hilbert functions. So this will go on for some time now, next two lectures at least. So what is an Hilbert function of a module? So we need a graded ring and a graded module. And as I said, I will drop this into the notation, this n in n, and these also, and we will assume that all are graded by z. Rings, when I say rings are graded by z, that means all negative component by definition are zero. We can make more general statement than this, but in the first course, at least one should not do it. So now what is, suppose that the assumptions I have underlined in this. So suppose that we are going to assume A0 is an Artinian ring. The base, the zeroth homogeneous component, that we will assume it is Artinian ring. We will also assume that A is a finite type over A0. A is a A0 algebra, and that is a finite type over A0. And the module M is finite over A. Then we know that M is a Noetherian A module because A is a Noetherian ring. Finite type algebra or a Noetherian is Noetherian, and finite modules or Noetherian rings are Noetherian. So that is M is Noetherian module. And therefore, just what we have seen, each Mn is a finite module over A0 and is of finite length. Because finite length over A0, because it's a finite module over Artinian ring. That my preliminary pages, this would be one of the statement there. It is a finite module. Finite module over Artinian rings have finite length. I will suggest one way to study is meditate. Adopt our Indian strategy of meditating, because we keep memorizing our shlokas and so many other things. Similar thing, you memorize this, you will understand better and better. Okay, now the numerical function. I am defining a numerical function. Numerical simply means, this I will make it more clearer when I go into the next lecture. That right now you simply think it is a function from integers to integers. So obviously, the definition is this will depend on M. So it is called a Hilbert function of M. What is the definition of this function? Take any n and map it to the length of Mn over A0. We know it is a finite by our assumptions, and therefore it is an integer. It is actually a positive integer in this case, but some Mn may be non-zero for negative sum. Not too many, but only finitely many n's. This may be still positive. So that is called a Hilbert function. We will see soon how do we compute for some examples. And then whenever you have a function, numerical function, you would have seen in many other subjects like numerical analysis or combinatorics, that the numerical functions are also understood by their generating functions. So what is the generating function for this? That is this power series. That is HMT. HMT is the sum over n, length of Mn over A0 and T power n. And where is this? This is a power series with integer coefficients. So this is a power series in T. And this power series will have obviously only finitely many negative terms, because the more larger negative side you go, this length becomes 0. So therefore, it has only finitely many negative powers of T which are occurring in this power series. So this is called a Hilbert series. Hilbert must have done this work only for when A is a graded, when A is a polynomial ring over a field, and M's are some special modules. But it is named after Hilbert. And this is, you will see when our lectures go on, till the end of this Hilbert function will come into the arguments and also definitions and many other things. It is very important to study Hilbert functions. Till now, it is very fertile area of doing research in commutative algebra and algebraic geometry. All right, now let us see some examples. Let us take a polynomial ring over an Artinian ring. For example, you can take A0 to be a field. So this polynomial ring is graded by a standard gradation. So that's why ANs are the homogeneous component with standard gradation. So ANs are actually free modules. See, ultimately, what do you want? I want to compute the lengths. So AN is a free module over A0. And what is the rank of A0? AN over A0? That is the number of monomials in R variables of degree n. So that is these binomial coefficients. This needs a little proof, but you should prove it. It is R-1 plus n, choose R-1. This one should prove this. All right. So it is easy to count. You have to find your way of counting. How are you going to count the things? Okay. And now let us take M0 to be a finite A0 module and M to be A tensor M0 over A0. That means that I am considering polynomials in these R variables with coefficients in M, and that is a module over A. Obviously, that is a module over A. And also obvious that it is a graded A module. And what are MNs? MNs are the direct sum of so many copies of ANs. So many copies of M0, because this, when you take A here, AN, and tensor A0 tensor, this is AN is A0 power this, it's a free module of this rank, and therefore tensor product comes with a direct sum and so on. So therefore, this Mn is a direct sum of so many copies of M0. Therefore, length of Mn, length is additive. We have seen. So therefore, it is length of M0 over A0, so many copies. So that times this number. This is by additivity of the length. And hence, the Hilbert function Hm of M is actually a polynomial. This is Hm at n. This is the value of the function at n. This is actually polynomial function, polynomial in n, and the degree of this polynomial is r minus 1. This binomial is always a polynomial in this n with degree this NCR. No, n choose r is a polynomial in n of degree r. That is very easy. That is simply by definition of m choose r. And hence the Hilbert series of m. What is the Hilbert series now? HMT. The coefficients are this. So these coefficients. Did I write something wrong here? Yes, I did. This should be M0. This is not Mn, this is M0. Because this is length of Mn. So this is M0 here. This part is, you see my cursor, that is M0. And therefore this, and now I have indicated, now I want to expand by Newton binomial theorem for negative exponents. Why did I do that? You will see. So this will be the same as this. I have corrected here, but I forgot to correct it. This is same, and this binomial coefficient r minus 1 plus n choose r minus 1. This is minus r choose n and minus t power n. This is just, you have to recall what is Newton's binomial theorem for negative exponents, and you will see the equality here. This one. And then what is the advantage? This is length of M0 over A0. And now this one, when you do that, this means it is 1 minus t power r. This is what I meant by Newton's binomial theorem for negative exponents. All right. So therefore, this Hilbert series is what? This is a rational function in ZT. See, the numerator is constant here. This. And the denominator is this very special polynomial. So though one hand it is a series, power series in Z, the other side is a rational function in ZT. Z polynomial. That means the polynomial divided by a polynomial. And in general, what will be very important for our study of dimension is to study the degree of this numerator, denominator, and so on, and their coefficients, and understanding their coefficients and degrees and so on. That is a very big study. We will see. So these examples also illustrate or makes us believe that what to prove next. So that is the theorem I prove now. So what is the theorem? This theorem is called Hilbert-Serre theorem. So is a graded ring. A is a graded ring. Mn's are graded modules. As usual, we are assuming the zeroth component is an Artinian ring. Artinian we are assuming because otherwise the length will not make sense. A0 is Artinian ring. M is a finite module. Mn's are 0 for large negative n. And N0 is the place where the first homogeneous component of M is non-zero, and below that it is 0. These already we know from these assumptions, but I want to choose that N0. That's why I wrote. This is 0 for n less than N0, and at N0 it is a non-zero homogeneous component. And A is finite type algebra over A0, and it is generated by F1 to Fr, where F1 to Fr are homogeneous of positive degrees, and Fi's are of degree ds. That is what it is written in this notation. Okay, with this, what do I want to prove? Then I want to prove that this Hilbert series of M is a rational function. Numerator polynomial is some polynomial ft times t power this n naught. I want you to understand a statement first and then worry about the proof. So this is the numerator polynomial. And f0 at 0 is non-zero because we have taken out as many factors of f, t, f as are out here and they are here t power n naught and no more. And the denominator is very simple. It is 1 minus t power d1. d1 is the degree of this f1 and so on. 1 minus t power dr where dr is the degree of f1. This is what we want to prove. Proof is not difficult. We already have a lot of preliminaries for the proof. And how are we going to prove this statement? We are going to prove it by induction on R. What is R? R is the number of these algebra generators, A0 algebra generators of A. That is what we are going to induct on R. So, and we have given M is a finite module. So, M is therefore generated by S elements, X1 to SS, XS. And I said that this is a very standard simple trick. We can always assume that these Xi's are homogeneous. If they are not homogeneous, you take their homogeneous component and put them also there as a generating set. Generating set would have increased, but some nice thing happened. We can assume it is homogeneous component. So these are homogeneous components of degree mj's. And also we can assume, we can arrange them so that the degrees of these Xi's are increasing. If somebody has a smaller degree, I will bring them, renumber it and bring it first. So mj is less equal to mj plus. These are increasing homogeneous components, increasing degrees. So let us take R equal to 0 first. So that means no Fi's. That means A is simply A0. Then N0 is M1. See, because the least homogeneous component in a generating set is that M0, M1, that is X1. And there can't be any least degree because the only way it can happen is to multiply by, so there are no homogeneous component of higher degree in this, the ring A because A is L0. So therefore, this is the least. N0 is M1. Then I want to check that this Mn0 is non-zero. That is obvious. Because when I take Mn equal to 0 for n bigger than Ms. All right. So, I have written here the other way. Oh no, this one should be n less than M1. Mn, see here the note that Mn is 0. Okay, this is also correct.
Yes, actually you're giving both an upper bound as well as a lower bound. Both statements are here.
So Mn is 0 for larger, for the biggest than this one also, because no matter what I take, the linear combination, A has only the homogeneous component of degree 0. Therefore, it will never increase the degree by more than Ms. So therefore, upper bound is Ms and lower bound is M1. So therefore, what is the Hilbert series? That is from N0 to Ms, length of Mi's, T power i's. This is what the definition says. We are in a very special case, R equal to 0. And this is nothing. Then I want, so this is T power N0, I want to take it out. And then whatever remains, I call it Ft. So F0 is what then? F0 is the first guy here. Length of Mn not 0, which is non-zero by our assumption. So therefore, actually, in this case, it's a polynomial. This Hilbert series is actually polynomial. And that's what we want, because that is exactly this. In the denominator, all these d's are not there. So this is just one. So therefore, it is, therefore, this assertion we have proved it.
If anyone has any questions, please ask.
Yeah, please. Anybody has any question?
If anything is not clear, please do not hesitate to get it clarified.
We still have a lot of time today. Not lot, 20 minutes. Yes,
sir,
anybody has any question, please don't sleep. I will not answer questions on this later. Remember this. All right. Shall I go on? I think it's boring for them. Yes. Nobody has question? All right. Now assume that we have proved the assertion for r equal to 0, and now we are assuming r bigger equal to 1, and I want to reduce the number of generators and create a situation where my graded algebra is generated over A naught by less than r elements, and then I have a module, and then I want to apply this theorem for in that situation. Assume the theorem there and then prove it for the next case. That is what the induction means. So now, look at. Now I forgot to mention this. If you have a graded module and some integer, then I want to twist this, shift this gradation. So what I mean by this is, I think I have written somewhere. Did I not write? Or maybe here I have written. So this module is what? This is the same gradation, only the renumbered. They are renumbered. How they are renumbered? They are shifted by minus d1. That means homogeneous component of this graded module m minus d1 is precisely m suffix n minus d1. We are shifting all the components by minus d1 on the. So that means we are going on the left side. So that is this graded module. And on this graded module, I have taken a multiplication by that f1. Remember, f1 is homogeneous of degree d1. So when I multiply any element here by f1, its degree will increase by d1 exactly. So therefore, this nth homogeneous component of this module will fall inside the homogeneous nth homogeneous component of M. Therefore, this will be a graded homomorphism. I have made this, the definition of M minus D is made in such a way that when you multiply by this F1, this becomes a graded homomorphism of degree. Graded means 0 degree. So that is what, that's why I have done this. Now, what will be the kernel of this graded homomorphism? It will be the homogeneous submodule of this. That I call it M prime. And the quotient co-kernel, that is also the gradation, the quotient gradation. So now it is clear. This sequence is exact because I precisely taken a kernel and co-kernel. That's what I've written here. Kernel and co-kernel. Kernel is those guys which are, when you multiply by F1, it is 0. That means there are annihilators of F1 in this module. And this, so this is an exact sequence of graded modules. That means when I take suffix n, suffix n, suffix n, suffix n, that will be exact. It goes, this suffix n goes inside this suffix n, goes inside the suffix n, goes inside the suffix n. So that will be exact sequence of modules. And then because length is additive, when I take the lengths of those exact sequences, then they will get added up alternatively. So that means if I start with, so let me see the next page and see what I have written. So now first of all, note here. Is it the same page? Same page. So since M is Noetherian, kernel and co-kernel are also Noetherian. We need to keep the same assumptions of the theorem to apply the induction hypothesis. So that is what I am checking. M is Noetherian, the kernel, co-kernels are also Noetherian. This is lambda F1 is a graded homomorphism of degree D1. Since F1 is homogeneous of degree D1, this graded 0 I should say here. This one is 0. And hence gradation of M induces a gradation on M prime and the quotient. This we have, I've said it in the preliminary there, right? So once you have done that, what is the nth, n naught? I am now checking the assumption, this assumption that mn naught is non-zero. What happened to that? So md1 suffix n naught is by definition m suffix n naught minus d1, which is 0, because d1 is at least 1. So therefore this is 0 by our assumption. And mn is also 0 for n less equal to n naught because it is a sub of mn. And this double prime is also 0 for when n is strictly less than n naught, because that's also clear, because mn's are 0. But m double prime n naught is non-zero, because this mn naught is non-zero and this is a homomorphic image of that. So that is also non-zero. So I want to apply the induction for this kernel and co-kernel. That is why I am writing all this. I am checking all this. Now put a naught a prime to be subalgebra of A generated by F2 to FR. A naught subalgebra generated by F2 to FR. Now R has dropped to R minus 1. And now F1 annihilates M prime. That is clear by definition of M prime. Similarly, F1 annihilates M double prime because it's a co-kernel. This is a co-kernel. So therefore, it also annihilates. It's also annihilated by F1. So both these are Noetherian graded A prime modules. And now, therefore, I can apply the induction. Induction to whom? Induction to this M prime and that A prime. This is a module over A prime. This is also module over A prime. Therefore, I can apply induction and say that Hilbert series for these modules are rational functions of this type, where the numerator is something like this. T naught is a factor and a polynomial f with integer coefficients f0 is non-zero, and denominator is very nice. So therefore here, by induction hypothesis, we have Hilbert series of M prime is some polynomial f prime t times t n naught prime dt. I have written dt. dt is 1 minus t d2, 1 minus t dr, and Hilbert series of M double prime is f double prime t n naught here. Here n naught because here exactly at n naught is non-zero. Here we don't know. Here less than n naught, including n naught, they are 0. Therefore, that n naught prime will be strictly less than n naught. But I will call it n naught prime. So and this f prime at 0 is non-zero, and f double prime at 0 is non-zero. And if f prime is non-zero, then if m prime is 0, then we have nothing. It's a 0 thing, so we have nothing. if M prime is non-zero, then F prime T is in ZT, and N naught prime is definitely bigger than N naught. And if M prime is zero, then this is actually zero polynomial. And you can take N naught prime to be equal to N naught plus 1. All right, so we have applied the induction to get this. Now, what do we get from this exact sequence? When I want to write Hilbert series, they are alternating. Alternating signs will come. So, therefore, right here, I first write Hilbert series for this M, that is what we want. So, this one at N, this one at N, this one at N, and this one at N, and take their lengths. So, length here, I start with the length here, this minus this, plus this, and then minus this I have to take, and then sum it over N. So, what do I get? Hilbert series of M minus Hilbert series of that M minus D1, and then I shift to the other side the remaining two terms. That will be H M double prime at T minus H M prime at T. And what is the relation between the it's only shifting, not twisting, shifting. So this one will get added, this will get added that D1, right? T power D1. So therefore, this one is T power D1 and this now, therefore, you simplify now, it's just only the calculation. Now there, this you take out this minus T D1, 1 minus T power D1 times HMT, you will be equal to, I just substitute from here. So this one is F double prime minus FT, T power N naught prime minus N naught, and T power N naught I have taken common, divided by dt as it is I kept it. So this is just a simplified. And when I want HMT, that I want to bring this down there now. And therefore, what do I get? Therefore, so these are further I have simplified here. FT T N naught, where FT is the numerator here. That is F double prime T minus F prime T, T power T N naught prime minus T N minus N naught. And therefore, at F at 0 is this at 0, which is non-zero because this will be at 0, T is extra added there. So this will be 0. So this is still non-zero. So I got, when I shift this to the other side, I got what I wanted. I wanted a polynomial so that it is non-zero at 0 and this T and naught. So I got it. So this will finish the proof of this theorem. Do you agree? Yes, now I want the next, I want next corollary. Yes. Anybody has any question in this page? Yes, please. Purneshri, do you have any question?
Sir, actually, I have to write it down on my own and then I only can figure out because these things are too much calculative, right? So
Yeah, you have to do that.
So after that, I can tell you.
Okay. Okay, fine. And if nobody, no, the assumptions, etc. Then I am careful to use assumptions, induction. That's all. That's all. And the remaining part you have to check on your own. All right. I want to deduce an important corollary from here. So corollary with notation as in the above theorem. That means what? That means you have a graded module, Noetherian finite graded module over a graded ring where the the A naught is Artinian ring, and A is finite type algebra over A naught, then we are doing something. So the same assumption. And now I further want to assume that it is a standard graded A naught algebra. That means all these Fi's are of homogeneous of degree, same degree, D equal to 1. All Di's are 1. So all our degrees are 1. Such algebra is called a standard A naught algebra. Then HMT equal to ET T power N naught and 1 minus T power D. Now what is the difference? What am I doing? I just will explain. Here it is FT T power N naught and this one. Now it might happen that, see, all these denominator has 1 minus T as a factor in all the places. So it might happen this FT also has a factor at 1 minus T as a factor. So I want to take that factor if it is there and cancel with the denominator. So I will definitely get different polynomial, but what assumption will I get then? So ET, so FT, from FT, that ET is obtained by removing this 1 minus T as a factor. So F at 0 will be still non-zero and F at 1 will also become non-zero. So that's what I've written. So you have a polynomial ZT, ET in ZT, E0 is non-zero, E at 1 is also non-zero now because I cancelled that, and this D will be, it might be smaller than equal to R. Here it was R. These are 1s. So this is T1 minus T power R. So some factor might have got cancelled so that the D might become smaller than R, but it smaller equal to. And it might, maybe all factors are cancelled. Therefore, it might be 0 also. Now, what is the corollary saying? I am saying that these ET and D are uniquely determined. Uniquely determined. So, first of all, this existence is by the above theorem, as I said. You cancel the common factor and then write it there. So, FT may have some factor, and that is S, and then remove that. So, take D equal to R minus S and so on. All right, so that is not this one. Okay, now moreover, I say that these D cannot become negative. It cannot happen that the number of factors, 1 minus T factors in that F are more than R. That cannot happen. That's what I'm checking here. Because if D were negative, then what will happen? HM at 1, that means all the sums will come. If you take HM at 1, T equal to 1. So it will be definitely more than the N naught. So this will be 0 because we are put the one side it is 0, the other side it is bigger or equal to this length, but this length is non-zero. So by our assumption, therefore this is not possible. So D is non-negative. All right, now uniqueness. So we have established such a HMT as a rational function of this type. And now I'm checking that in this rational function, this ET and 1 minus T, this power D, they are unique. Already N naught is, our definition is clear. So suppose you have two expressions like this. Suppose another one is like this, where now G also is a polynomial, G at 0 is non-zero, and G at 1 is also non-zero. I forgot to write here. Q is non-negative. Then we want to prove G equal to E and D equal to Q. So you cross multiply. So this equal to that, you cross multiply. So ET of 1 minus T power Q is GT of 1 minus T power D. And therefore ET equal to GT and D equal to Q. Because the 1 minus T is not a factor here. 1 minus T is not a factor here. And this is in a polynomial ring or a field or a ring. So therefore, so D has to be Q. If D one is smaller than the other, then this polynomial will divide. So you can use division algorithm to get a contradiction. So therefore, D is Q, and when D is Q, E is G. Now, this ET polynomial, it's a polynomial. And polynomial says that at 0 it is non-zero, and at 1 also it is non-zero. So ET will look like this. 0 to, and it will have some degree h. So some coefficient ci power ti. And where degree is h, I am assuming. So EH is non-zero. Then what do you get? Again, from 1 minus t power minus d expansion, that was this. We saw that. And this is equal to this power t power n. And therefore, what do you get? Now you compare the coefficient of t power n in this, in the HMT. Take the coefficient of t power n here. That is Lm length of Mn. But that is, from here, you take that, from this description, you will get the other side. You will get E0, the coefficient of, see here you have expanded all these by this by Newton binomial negative exponents, and then we have written this, and then that you have multiplied by this polynomial ET, and we want to compute the coefficient of t power n on both sides. On this side, on the left side, it is length of Mn. On the other side, it is what? E0 times this. That is, you just multiply this by this polynomial and compute the coefficient of t power n. That is this. That is very easy again. That you have to do it yourself. When for n minus n not bigger equal to h. Where this n is large, then only this equality will be correct. So for n bigger equal to this inequality, n bigger equal to n naught plus h, this equality will happen. What equality? Length of Mn equal to this. For n large, let us say n large. So that means this length, actually we have proved this length function is for large n, it is this polynomial function. This is a polynomial this side. Polynomial of what degree? Polynomial of degree h. No, d minus 1, not h. Polynomial of degree d minus 1, because here the polynomial of degree d minus 1. And what is the leading coefficient? That will come from this E naught. So therefore, but this is a polynomial of, so that's what explanation of this. Each of them is a polynomial in n of degree d minus 1. So that's what I have written here. This one is a polynomial of degree n of degree d minus 1, and the leading coefficient here is 1 by d factorial. And therefore, what did we prove? We proved that this Lmn, which we called it, what did we call it? We call it a Hilbert function. This Hilbert function, numerical function, that is this. So what we proved is this function is a polynomial function. That means, and for large n, and how large? For degree et plus n naught. And that polynomial on the other side is a polynomial with rational coefficients. And the leading coefficient of that polynomial is 1 over d minus 1 factorial. So what we proved is this Hilbert function of m is a polynomial function for large n of degree d minus 1, and its leading coefficient is this one, e at 1, because that e naught is at e at 1. No, this e naught is what? This is at e at 1. E at 1 is e at 0. E at, yeah, we have to Yeah, E at. So I want to write in such a way that is at E at 1. E at 1 is what? E at 1 is this. Okay. Yeah, that's correct. So that is a polynomial function of degree d minus 1, and the leading coefficient is E at 1 divided by d minus 1 factorial, because from each it will come this one. So this one is coming from each term there, and therefore it will be E at 1. That will be sum of all these E's. Sum of all these E's, E at 1. So that is very important statement. When I start my next lecture, I will write this in a theorem format, and this is what we have proved in this corollary. So what did we prove? Let me summarize. We have proved Hilbert-Sayes theorem is what? Under these standard assumptions, let us say it. Hilbert series is a rational function of integer coefficients, such that the denominator is a very special polynomial and the numerator is also very special. And then Hilbert function, this is Hilbert series. And from that knowledge, we have deduced that the Hilbert function is a polynomial function for large n of degree d minus 1. And what was d? What was d? D was the number of algebra generators. So one less than a number of generators. That was the degree of that polynomial function. And the coefficient, the leading coefficient is of this special form. E at 1 divided by d minus 1 factorial. That is very special form. So this d, polynomial of degree d minus 1, and d is non-negative. So that is related to, we will relate this in the fourth lecture, coming lectures, that this d is related very closely to Krull dimension. And therefore, we will get a very important result that for local ring, Krull dimension will be finite. And not only that, in between we will have many very important consequences. And then later on, when we go on, then we can also do a little bit of geometric meanings of this degree and coefficients. I think I will stop here now. I already exceeded some minutes. I'm sorry for that, but I cannot keep it. And the last 2 pages, now they are very understandable. Only thing, this calculation, one has to do it by oneself to get it more convinced. So with this, I will stop here. Wait for 2 minutes if you have any questions.
Can you suggest some books
Who is asking?
on this topic? Dipendu.
Dipendu, at this moment, I don't want to suggest any book. Because
okay,
I will tell you my reason. Not that I am against it. Because different books have different notations, different definitions, and different arrangements. So that will not be compatible with this.
Okay.
So best is stick to this line by line, word by word, and I'm sure you will understand it. If you don't understand, we are there.
Okay.
After that, I will tell you to look at the books.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any specific reason you are asking for the books?
No, actually, these things are new. The graded rings, graded algebras, I'm just learning. So I want to learn is from the books.
The preliminary, if you ask me, preliminaries,
The graded rings.
I have only mentioned here the preliminaries which are being used. That also I will improve it as I go on. If I need something else, again I will say we need this. So
Okay.
general, if you ask me general reference for preliminaries that we have already said, Atiyah McDonald.
No, sir. The graded rings are in Atiyah McDonald.
It is there. It is there in the later part when he wants to prove this theorem. This theorem is also proved there. Okay, so it may be chapter 11 or chapter 12.
Oh.
Okay, so it is there. And moreover, if you pick up any book on commutative algebra, it will be there. But at this stage, if you start doing that, then you will run short of a time.
Okay.
And then you will not go with this class. You will learn something on your own. Okay. You understand my
yes.
philosophy for not
yes.
the book right now?
Yes. I got it.
Okay. Anybody else? Any question? Yes. Kriti?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. Some of the guys are new or what? I just wanted to see who are the guys. Now already some have gone.
Yes.
I want to see some guys. For example, this guy last time also I called, but he didn't respond. Ayush Jaiswal.
Yes, sir.
Can you please tell me where are you from?
So I'm from IIT Gandhinagar.
Oh, you are from IIT Gandhinagar. So then
yes,
I talked to you earlier, no?
Actually, you had called me, but maybe I was not in the
okay. Now,
the lecture, but
are you understanding the lectures?
Means I need to read again, but I am understanding means I need to read it again.
But who stops you?
Huh?
Who stops you from reading?
Nobody stops me.
Then
it needs me. I will need.
Everybody has to read. Even I have to read.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So unless you read, the next lecture you will have trouble in understanding. How about exercises?
Exercises are not easy. Means it needs time. Means actually this month I was another means I was another busy in other work, so I was not submitting assignments. I was submitting assignments of Vedanath, sir, but your assignments question was not easy. So from now on, I will try to submit answers.
We already must have got the notices or whatever. You have to submit the assignments. If you don't do assignments, there is no point in doing this course.
Yes, sir.
And also we have to account to the NCM that if you are not submitting the assignments, I think they will be very reluctant to give the certificates. So this is also, I want to mention this to everybody. Please be serious, take your time. We are there to help you, but do the assignments, and assignments will be based on the lectures only. If you have heard the lectures carefully, understood them, then you should be able to do the assignments. All right. If nobody has any question, then I will go.